Parliamentary Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this ninth Parliament, we haven't determined any form the budget statement will be presented as of now. Mr. Speaker, I have gone to read Order 6, and I have checked on our schedule from Schedule 1 to Schedule 10, and that of Order 6, and I have not been able to understand. And as we stand, Mr. Speaker, as at now, the House has not determined the form the budget is going to be presented. So, Mr. Speaker, the House has to determine the form before he can present any statement. Mr. Speaker, that is my plea, that the House must determine, my application is that the House must determine the form of the budget statement before he reads the statement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Public Financial Management Act and its various amendments spell out clearly the budgeting process, the requirements of a budget, what must be contained in it, and etc. And that was a legislation enacted by this same Parliament. And this Parliament acts according to the prescriptions of that legislation. So if there are provisions in the standing orders that recommend that we have a form in which the budget should be presented, the provisions of the Public Financial Management Act, of course, is the parent legislation dealing with financial management and the presentation of budgets. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't think there's an issue here. Let's proceed and take the budget statement from the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I have listened to the application by the Member of Parliament for Toulon. I have also listened to the Leader of the House responding to the said application. The Leader of the House makes a general submission. The application was anchored on the rules of this House. A mandatory provision in Order 195, there's no may there. It reads, for the avoidance of doubt and at the risk of being repetitive, this is what it says. The budget statement in economic policy of the government shall be presented to the House by the Minister responsible for finance on behalf of and on the authority of the President, and in the form the House may determine. Yes, wait, look at them. Mr. Speaker, wait, yes. So, yes, wait. Mr. Speaker, let's just take it easy. Let's just take it easy. Let's just take it easy. This is law. Take it easy. Take it easy. Take it easy. So, Mr. Speaker, what is the reverse logic? Please, for the benefit of our young ones, for the benefits of the young ones, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this House is a house of procedure. This House is equally guided by its own rules and precedents. Wait a moment. For those who are in a hurry to shout in his agreement, if the law says may determine, is it also the case that in reverse logic, the House may decide not to determine any form? But no, wait. The law is that a budget statement must be presented. But we, Well, we are saying again that as a house, we may have to determine which form. So, Mr. Speaker, the invitation by the minority, the deputy minority whip, is well founded. He is inviting us as a house to determine, are we going to allow him to make a statement, or we are going to allow him to move a motion? Is it going to be in a form of a motion or in a form of a statement? This is a well-anchored application. Don't use your number to shout to intimidate him.
At the end of 2023, to a deficit of 3.9% of GDP at the end of the year 2024. This is 4.4 percentage points worse than the target surplus of 0.5% of GDP. Sadly, Mr. Speaker. On cash basis, Mr. Speaker, the primary balance was a deficit of 1.2% of GDP against a target of 0.6% of GDP, representing 100% deviation. Mr. Speaker, the overall fiscal balance on commitment basis for 2024 was a deficit of 7.9% of GDP against a target of 4.2% of GDP, while the overall fiscal balance on cash basis was a deficit of 5.2% of GDP against a target of 5.3% of GDP. Total revenue and grant amounted to 186.6 billion Ghana cedis, or 15.9% of GDP, 5.3% above the revised target of 177.2 billion Ghana cedis, or 17.4% of GDP. The performance was mainly driven by higher than programmed oil and gas receipt and higher non-oil tax revenue collection. Total expenditure on commitment basis, including discrepancies, amounted to 279.2 billion, or 23.7% of GDP. This is 27.1% above the budget provisions of the year 2024, Mr. Speaker. The primary balance on commitment basis, including discrepancies, amounted to 232.4 billion, or 19.8% of GDP. This is 35.3% above the target of 171.7 billion, or 16.8% of GDP. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, all expenditure lines exceeded their respective targets for the period, except for interest payments, goods and service, and other expenditures. Right Honorable Speaker, the discrepancies for the year 2024 being unclassified expenditure was 3.8 billion Ghana cedis as compared to 12.9 billion Ghana cedis in the year 2023. Mr. Speaker, at the end of December 2024, provisional data indicate that gross central government and guaranteed debt was 726.7 billion from 610 billion in 2023. This represents 61.8% of GDP in 2024, compared to 68.7% in the year 2023, will contribute significantly to reducing inflationary pressures. Right Honorable Speaker, our strategy to improve exchange rate stability will reduce imported inflation and fuel prices. And Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Ghana will maintain an appropriate monetary policy stance and use its liquidity management interventions to support the disinflation process. Right Honorable Speaker, to achieve our expenditure-led fiscal consolidation objectives, we will implement the following measures. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to our expenditure measures. Mr. Speaker, the following expenditure measures will be implemented in 2010 to support fiscal consolidation agenda. First, we will conduct a comprehensive audit to validate the quantum of arrests and commitment as at 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, the mandatory use of blanket purchase order to capture multi-year commitment contracts in line with our medium-term expenditure ceilings will be implemented. We will amend the Public Procurement Act to provide for an independent value for money office to scrutinize government procurement. Mr. Speaker, we will also work with Parliament to amend the Public Procurement Act to make commencement certificate and budgetary provision a prerequisite for all procurement that will be paid by the central government. Mr. Speaker, we will fully integrate GANEPS and GIFMIS to ensure that only MDA's projects and purchase orders that have approved budget and allotment can obtain procurement approvals. Mr. Speaker, we will operationalize the compliance desk at the Ministry of Finance to monitor reports on commitment and arrest accumulation. Mr. Speaker, aside that, we will publish a PFM league table for compliance purposes. We will strictly enforce sanctions under the sections 96 to 98 of the Public Financial Management Act for breaches of the PFM Act, specifically those that relate to arrest accumulation and commitment control. Right, Honorable Speaker, we will cut waste, and we will cut it very deep. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, we have selected expenditure items including the Ghana Cares, the U-Start, One District, One Factory for complete elimination. Mr. Speaker, we will reassign the functions of development authorities such as Coastal Development Authority, the Northern Development Authority, the Middle Belt Development Authority to the district assemblies and do away with the development authorities. So, Speaker, we will amend the Petroleum Revenue Management Act to allocate all ABFA resources for infrastructure use, not for goods and services, but for infrastructure use. So, Speaker, the National Health Insurance will receive full allocation under the earmark funds capping and realignment act. So, Speaker, the road fund will receive full allocation under the earmark fund and capping and realignment act. So, Speaker, JNPC share of net carried and participating interest from 30, we will reduce the JNPC share of net carried and participating interest from 30% to 15%, and fully restore transfers to GMPC under the earmark fund and capping act. Right, Honorable Speaker, we'll be amending the Mineral Income and Investment Fund Act to ensure that 80% of the royalties originally maintained by MIF is transferred to the Consolidated Fund for Infrastructure Development. Right, Honorable Speaker, we will strengthen social protection through the implementation of new interventions such as the no academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions under the No Fee Stress Initiative. Mr. Speaker, it also includes the free tertiary education for persons with disability, free primary health care, the Ghana Medical Trust Care, otherwise known as Mahama Care, and free sanitary pads for schoolgirls. Mr. Speaker, to address the energy sector challenges, including reducing the quantum of large energy sector shortfalls, the following energy sector recovery program interventions will be implemented this year. First, Mr. Speaker, ECG and NEDCO will implement a number of measures, including metering and implementation of private sector participation. Mr. Speaker, we'll also implement the liquid fuel to gas swap through an increase in end gas supply from 60 mmSC per day to 100 mmSC to take advantage of cheaper gas prices, and 0.7 billion Ghana cedis, representing 15.8% of GDP, which is a Mr. Speaker, we have uncapped the National Health Insurance levy. An amount of about 10 billion Ghana cedis has been programmed for the National Health Insurance Scheme. And this amount is expected to be used for the following: claim payments, essential medicine, vaccine payment, free primary health care, the Ghana Medical Care Trust, Mr. Speaker, and bridging the USAID financing shortfall. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2025, government will continue to implement reforms and increase budgetary allocation to enhance the implementation of 4 targeted social protection programs, namely National Health Insurance, the LEAP program, the school feeding program, and the capitation grant.
Government is broke, government is broke. But people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
Hello, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moore. It's always a pleasure coming your way. Let's say big thanks to the Almighty God for keeping us alive and kicking. We're back here again to join the conversation about what's happening in our dear country, Ghana. I'll start with, I'll go straight ahead and bring you the front page of the newspapers. Today, I'll start with the Ghanaian Times. The Ghanaian Times this morning is reporting, it says, the budget 2025, government to spend 291 billion cedis to build more resilient, equitable society. Finance Minister, budget not inspirational, minority, but majority says it will stabilize economy. 5 taxes scrapped to cushion business and citizenry. The Daily Guide. 2025 budget, government allocates 44.17 billion cedis for key initiatives, scraps taxes, reintroduce road tolls. Budget statement is Sakawa minority. Cecilia Dapa testifies against maids 5 others. The Insight. Alleged political victimization in Ghana Security Services. Forum decries ordeal. Poor treatment of ACI Edward Owusu in the Immigration Service. English in Alata, Traditional Council rejects induction of Weche Kojo II into House of Chiefs, calls for urgent intervention by government. Government outdoors in Idaso budgets, nuisance taxes scrapped, Mahama Care, jobs, others coming. Donald Trump's reverse Kissinger strategy. The Informer. Surrender passport or else, government warns former appointees. Galamsey fight, no retreat, no surrender, minister vows. 2025 budget, government scraps e-levy, others promises to uphold fiscal discipline, but IEA opposes betting tax cancellation. Commercialization of Okada, prioritize safety concerns, government cautioned. 2025 budget, we never collected betting tax, former finance minister. The Inquisitor. Resetting Ghana, Asempa budget unveiled. Surging red opioid addiction wreaks havoc on Ghana's youth. Government recalls diplomatic and service passports, says March 17 deadline. President Mahama pledges to ease ECOWAS Sahel tension. And coming up, Michael Bidiako and COVID-19 cash. The Herald. Guta, Imani, NHIA, EduWatch applaud Mahama's 2025 budget, but Apenyo Marking calls it uninspiring. Ghana is open for business, a new dawn for investment and economic prosperity, GIPC boss. Mahama government allocates 442.5 million cedis for Akosombo spillage and tidal wave victims. Sleeping Mampong MPP MP sparks social media frenzy at budget presentation. GBC workers demand removal of Director General over expired tenure. The Daily Statesman. Sami Euku supports police in Ikuapem North. Guta calls for revision of VAT structure to support retail wholesale sectors. Mahama, another budget detached from reality, says minority. NPP lowered debt to GDP ratio in 2024, Finance Minister. Publisher. Mohammed's Azan budget offers no hope. Afenyo marking cries for the youth. 279 million gold board fund. Another create, loot and share. Dr. Amin Adam. Kenashigbe slams government Galamsey fight. Metro Lens. Tax relief for Ghanaians. E-levy, betting, COVID-19, emissions and motor insurance taxes scrapped. Achim Anamase gets new chief as he calls for unity towards the betterment of the community. Nana budget. NPP left strong economy. Data don't lie. Minority insists. Achim Sejimasi installs Queen Mother after 101 years. And as NHIS staff sensitization exercise enhances awareness of NHIS benefits. The Accra Times. 2025 budget statement to Parliament. Mahama abolishes killer taxes, providing lasting relief to the youth and businesses in Ghana. Implement affirmative action law. Speaker Bagwin appeals to President Mahama. Don't forget the men in pursuit of affirmative action. Mahama Ayariga. MP calls for more women. The Custodian. Bahama's Jamboree budget contains cooked figures. Minority alerts Ghanaians. Ghana's GDP hit 5.7% under MPP Gideon Boakong. NDC introduces 3 new taxes, scraps 3 in 2025 budget. Government seeks over 290 billion for 2025. And the Daily Post. Government allocates 279 million to Gold Board, 13.85 billion to Big Push, and 242.5 million for Akosombo victims. 2025 budget welcoming. Government has shown good intentions. Guta President. NPP government has stolen our monies. That's betters cry out in anger. So that's it for the front page of the newspapers. You're still watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. Please stay with us.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth and fresh bread.
I'm a fat missy way.
The patch of Bantama.
Matassa.
That's a cycle.
It's her smile, the fresh breath.
Me, Jidisa, we use Cal 360 toothpaste. Semikai.
Cal 360 toothpaste.
Yes, Kia. Cal 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector.
Onim Jom Kasa.
Cal 360 did the way. Its cool mint gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
You will so feeling to when you know Cal 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Cal 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth and fresh breath. Cal, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Fire promudin ya gubi. Ghana funi aji. If you say ya your local spices na ya fra dia ya sankofa natural spice.
Me de gumi jollof fumu. Me misti wa huduma. Emane dance.
Stanley, the barbecue the gone.
Sankofa natural spices. And one when you say 100% natural.
said the Epeno.
Adofo, Mamu huge mistake. Sanko for natural spices.
Look around. Home also need a makeover. Oh, mine clearly does. So we went to Ashroom and found the Como collection. It had everything we're looking for and more. Merchant furniture for the entire home, designed with you in mind.
Where's Como collection? Dressing up is just the breeze. Always ready with a perfect accessory.
A magic dressing mirror. One look and you're ready to face the world. Or at least the kids.
A bed perfect for young men who want
a table that turns into a treasure chest.
And finally, a sofa with this grand TV unit for family time at home.
Head over to any Ashfoam store now and discover the new Como collection. Ashfoam, feel it, know it.
The answer to my prayer, you with me everywhere. My angel, miracle, you're all I need tonight. Give me shelter from the rain. You breathe life in me again. You're my angel, miracle, you're all I need to know.
Energy drink.
Fire pomudi ni agobi. Ghana fueni aje. If you say ya your local spices na ya frafra dia ya sanko for natural spice.
Me de gumi jollof mu. Me Mr. Wahuduma. Emanate dance.
Stanley, the barbecue the go on.
Sanko for natural spices. And one you use 100% natural. Said the Epeno.
Adofo, Mamu huge mistake. Sanko for natural spices.
Hello, my friends. My name is Kelkit's toothpaste. Wow. I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky whiter, chicky younger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Kelkits, happy smile.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Attention all farmers, are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and IRECOP brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua Jinkwa, and the IRECOP with Cocoa Blends. palm blend, and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP, and ARICOP organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by COCOBOD, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Representing 15.8% of GDP, which is a significant decline from 232.4 billion, representing 21.7% of GDP in the year 2024. Mr. Speaker, based on the resource allocation from 2025 fiscal year, the total appropriations for the year ending 31st December 2025 is 290,971,212,435 billion Ghana cedis. $279 million as a revolving fund for the Ghana Gold Board to be able to purchase and export at least 3 tons of gold per week from small-scale miners. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated 13.85 billion Ghana cedis for Big Push project. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated 13.85 billion Ghana cedis for the Big Push program. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 499.8 million Ghana cedis has been allocated for the non-academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions under the No Fee Stress initiatives. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated an amount of 292.4 million Ghana cedis to commence the distribution of free sanitary pads to female students in primary and secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, we have allocated again an amount of 242.5 million Ghana cedis to support the victim of Akosombo Dam spillage. Right, Honorable Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 200 million Ghana cedis to support the victim of tidal wave disaster that recently displaced residents in certain parts of K2 South constituency. Mr. Speaker, the overarching concern about free secondary education has been its quality and the absence of dedicated sources of financing. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has resolved it. Mr. Speaker, let me take this again. The overarching concern about free secondary education has been its quality and the absence of a dedicated sources of funding. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has resolved the funding challenges by uncapping the GET fund. Mr. Speaker, this makes available dedicated funding for full financing of free senior secondary school education and free tertiary education for persons with disability. Mr. Speaker, therefore, Capping and Realignment Act will be amended to uncap the Ghana Education Trust Fund. Mr. Speaker, this year, the budget for free senior secondary school education program is 3.5 billion Ghana cedis. By uncapping the GET fund, we will be making available an additional 4.1 billion Ghana cedis specifically for financing free secondary education program and other related expenditures. Mr. Speaker, aside the uncapping of GET fund, we have also absorbed the debt service made up of interest and principal from the Dache bond that GET fund contracted. Right, Honorable Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 564.6 million Ghana cedis for the provision of curriculum-based textbooks covering the following. 1, 4 sets of KG books and workbooks for about 2.8 million learners. Mr. Speaker, we have also provided for 4 sets of primary textbooks for about 800,000 learners. Mr. Speaker, we have also provided for 9 sets of SHS textbooks for about 540,000 learners. Right, Honorable Speaker, under the school feeding program, budgetary provision has been increased from the 1.3 billion Ghana cedis last year to 1.78 billion Ghana cedis.
You're still live on Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro. Let me remind you that Blue Jeans Energy Drink is proudly associated with the Good Morning Ghana show, and I have said it time and again, the Blue Jeans Energy Drink is the type of energy drink that you should be taking from time to time because of the useful nutrients in there. It's been on the Ghanaian markets for over 20 years, and it has nutrients like vitamin B2, vitamin B3, B6, B12, as well as the taurine and guarana, which are known to boost your strength and your energy, as well as promote high performance and endurance. And the Blue Jeans Energy Drink has been tested, it's been tried, and everybody says it is great. So we know it, and we testify that is indeed the best. So Blue Jeans Energy Drink is for bold and active women, and I know you who's watching us this morning are all bold and active, men and women, and it's in shops nationwide. So for bulk purchases, contact 0208 128 190, 0208 128 190. So 055 001 0000. So 055 001 000. So that's Blue Jeans Energy Drink. Try it. Na obiase yeah. My guest has seated, and my guest this morning, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is the managing editor of the Insight newspaper. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Ghana. And also Dr. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama, who is the MP for Wale Wale and also a former technical advisor at the office of the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bami, and also the presidential candidate of the NPP in the 2024 elections. Good morning, Doc. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Molo. Good to be back here.
So do you still offer any kind of technical advice to the former Vice President, even in an informal capacity? What has been your interaction with him like since you lost the elections?
Well, so I'm in constant communication with the former Vice President. The Vice President has, far from being a boss, is a brother.
Okay.
And that essentially means that we relate not just in official capacity, but also at a more informal level where from time to time I pay visit. From time to time we discuss issues relating to the region, national issues. I proffer my views, I make my suggestions. And even the last visit he went to Harvard for his lecture, I was part of the team that accompanied him to that program. So the Vice President is a brother and a boss, and will continue to offer our service, no matter how little our contribution will be, and whenever we are called upon by him to offer, and even pro bono as it is, whether called for or uncalled for, will offer our support. So that's my kind of relationship with him, and I still consider him as my boss and my if you like, my brother. So that's the kind of relation we have.
There was this rumor that started spreading on social media yesterday, where we're told that the vice president had summoned the minority MPs to a meeting to discuss how to react or to respond to the budget, which was read by the finance minister. I don't know if you're able to
it's a total fabrication.
It's a total fabrication.
It's a total fabrication because I remember...
Sorry, former vice president.
Yeah, I remember this whole thing. The only meeting, and I mean, don't have to disclose it, but I'm just disclosing it for the purposes of putting to rest this kind of outrageous, this kind of scandalous allegation. The vice president, since leaving office, has never, if you like, brought together members of parliament or the parliamentary caucus, as it were, trying to influence the direction of how they should go about national discourse. He wanted to take some time off, and then allow the party to, continue with their research they were going to do before he can get himself immersed again into the Ghanaian politics and engage in the country for that matter. So he's never engaged. There have been party NEC meetings and National Council meetings. I know yesterday, for instance, in fact, the meeting was scheduled to come off in the morning, but because of the budget presentation, they shifted it to somewhere 4 p.m. I don't even have information as to whether the vice president was there or not, but I know for sure, for a fact, that there was supposed to be NEC meeting yesterday. So if there was that meeting, which coincided with the presentation of the budget, people may just assume that this was a meeting to direct the caucus on as to how they should respond. The task of the committees on economic and development, finance committee, budget, public accounts committee, and all other sector relevant select committees is to evaluate what has been presented. It will not take the vice president or whosoever to direct to them. We live in a majoritarian parliamentary rule where the majority will always have their way. So irrespective of how the vice president says, the fact that the NPP has, and this has absolute majority, means that they are going to determine how the affairs of government will go. We will only have our say, and we'll make our say forceful for that matter to ensuring that what we feel strongly is not good, we'll make it known to the Ghanaian people, and then the Ghanaian people will be the judges after the NDC would have had their way in terms of it. So it's not true, and I can say without any scintilla of doubt in my mind that the vice president has not engaged any member of parliament regarding how they should go about critiquing the John Mahama's government. He's giving him a lot of time. He's going to give him more time to ensure that the president can have his firm footing on the ground before he can begin to come and probably provide constructive criticisms as to how the governance of the country is being run.
I mean, you are family. So you're not, the former vice president is not just your boss. So what it means is that you have much more up-close and personal interactions with him. What do you glean from his thinking in terms of what his political future looks like? I mean, is he considering staging a comeback, or he's not even discussed that with you? Maybe it's early days yet, but you personally, having worked with him before, what's your wish? So 2 questions in one.
Well, so the vice president is taken because it is going to be terrible bad that after losing an election and losing it by such a margin, you don't take a moment as a party to properly do a proper introspection, analysis of what has gone wrong, and to see why about 2 million supporters of the MPP did not turn out to vote. You need to have the understanding of that. And I believe, and I have no reason to doubt same, and checking the demeanor of the vice president, I believe he wants to give that process time for the party to understand, to come to a firm understanding of what had gone wrong. People would throw all kind of theories, just all attempts to muddy the situation and muddy the waters as to why we lost the elections. I remember in 2008 when we lost, I mean, several authors have different versions of what accounted for our loss. Some people will say it was arrogance of power. Some people will say it was the policy of government. Some people will say it was the nature and approach of campaign. Different theories will come to play as to why the MPP lost the elections. And the vice president doesn't want to go with the euphoria. He doesn't want to go with the noise. He doesn't want to go with the cacophony of the forest of issues that probably might have occasioned the loss. He wants to take his time, driven by facts, science and data, will know what it is. Then the party can then sit. From there, I think he can then make known his political future. If the vice president is a danger, if the vice president is a danger to the New Patriotic Party in terms of its ability to capture power, the vice president will not present himself. I'm clear in my mind when it comes to that, because he puts the party and the good people of Ghana above his personal interest. So what I'm clear is that the vice president would only present himself to the good people of Ghana to be considered for another opportunity if at the end of the day, in the full assessment of the facts, he feels strongly that he still has something to offer. The good people of Ghana still believe he can offer something. The party and the grassroots party still believe that he is still the best foot forward. And then he would then step up to that task. But for now, if anyone tells you the vice president has declared his intention to, contest the next election, I would say that it is not born out of the fact. You may be taking some, but he's not communicated that either directly to or indirectly to any stakeholder. He has not gone around to even thank the people.
Yeah.
He has to go around and then show appreciation to the chiefs and elders of the Ghanaian community for coming out to support him and to thank God for the protection he's gone through this particular difficult electioneering process.
Does he intend to do that?
He has to, and he would.
Okay.
In fact, it was planned to be done immediately after the election, but because of the internal party processes, he had to take a step backward and allow the party to conclude. I'm thinking that by close of this month, that should have been done. The party will have finished its work, and then he's now free to then know what is his next course of action.
All right. How was he?
Well, first of all, the problem is that my brother and friend appears to be living in the past. You understand?
Oh,
yeah.
Living in the past?
Yeah.
Why?
References to Dr. Baumia as the vice president is troublesome.
So, sorry, former vice president.
It's a former vice president.
The faux pas, quite clearly.
Yeah, that's
well,
okay.
whatever it is, it's a former vice president. It's not the vice president, And I think it's important for us to step out of the past into the present.
No, it was inadvertent mistake. So
no problem. Yes, no problem. Look, yes, an allegation has been made is not true. He has not met members of parliament to give them directions as to how to react to the budget and so on. Fair.
Okay.
But how does that become atrocious and so on? How? Former vice president, only recently leader of the party, a bona fide member of the party, has a meeting with parliamentarians. It's not an issue. It's not an issue at all. Indeed, that is how things ought to have happened.
You think so?
Why not?
He's not the leader of the party anymore. He's the national chairman.
Every member of the party, every member, leader or not, has a responsibility to help shape party policy. And he's entitled. It's his duty and entitlement. So I don't see any big deal about that. The point is, whether or not he needs parliamentarians or not, the facts are clear. The facts will be analyzed by the people of Ghana. The people of Ghana will take a position. Indeed, the last election was a referendum on the performance of the party he led and the government in which he was the number 2 supremo and so on.
Mr. Kwesi, so there are many MPP people who disagree with this conclusion. They say it's a referendum on Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. This has nothing to do with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And in any case, he's not the president. He's not the final decider on what happened in that government. So it would be unfair to lump the vice president.
Well, I think in many ways that is most unfair to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. There's no president, who is a rubber man. There's no president who by himself is Captain Planet and so on. The government machinery works together. You understand? And you know that Dr. Bawumia took credit for some of the things that happened under Akufo-Addo.
Fact.
His supporters took credit for what happened under Akufo-Addo. How then can they all of a sudden extricate themselves from the bad sides, and heap all the blame on Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? Yes, it is true that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as president, had some problems with some sections of his party. Indeed, when a large part of the opposition members of parliament decided that he should get rid of his finance minister, he refused and resisted over a long period of time. These are all, facts. But then, he is not solely responsible for everything that went wrong in that party. They were all participants. What did they do to stop him? If they genuinely felt that Nana Akufo-Addo was driving the country and on the rocks and so on, why? They could have joined the so-called minority then to impeach him, to remove him, and to bring somebody else. They didn't. They should stop this game of heaping all the blame on Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And in any case, if Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo ran this country aground, the party allowed him to do so. The people in his government allowed him to do so. So they are equally responsible for whatever happened under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, good or bad.
Okay.
This thing about extricating themselves and making him the fall guy and so on, I don't think is acceptable.
All right.
It's.
Yeah, I think
I think in many ways,
it's unfair to Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yeah, and it's a bad reflection on our politicians. They should take responsibility for what they do.
Okay.
Why? These same people who are today looking for hatchets to cut him down, were the people praising him all the time. You remember? What didn't Dr. Bawumia say about Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? Full of praise and so on. How come that all of a sudden people have drawn machetes and want to cut him down? I think it's most unfair and it's highly irresponsible.
Yeah, I think it's because if you lose an election, emotions are high. Whatever in a way.
You disagree with Doc?
Whatever.
You disagree with the
No, I don't disagree with him. I just feel like whatever people are saying is born out of emotions. No one has sat down to do the analysis concrete of why we lost.
No, but there's a certain principle he's establishing, or he has established.
Yeah.
It's the principle of collective blame and collective.
I said that principle
credits.
is a valid principle,
yes.
And that's why I'm not taking anything away from that presentation to the fact that if you're a government, you benefit and you fall together, and if there's any blame, it is unfortunate to try to be apportioned to one single person. But I'm saying that's set. As to why we lost the elections, will have to be determined scientifically.
Right.
Once we come to the determination, and the determination was so that Nana Akufo-Addo was the reason, after a scientific exercise, I'm not sure he would even resist that. If it is Dr. Bawumia who was the reason, I'm not sure he would resist that. If it is the party machinery, I'm not sure they would resist that. So that's what I'm saying. Because emotions are high, when we throw these things out, if they say that even when Nana Addo, I also want to fight back. Right? That we've just gone to a difficult election and we've lost, and you want to blame me for everything. If I were Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and you are blaming me and blaming everything that I was the problem, I would fight back. Because we saw how he put his effort. Went to 276 constituencies. No presidential candidate has ever done that. Right? He gave his all. And if you tend to blame him, he will fight back. But if scientifically, at the end of the day, it is proven that either of them was the problem, then the people will then sit back and realize the things they didn't do well. So, like I said, and I agree with him that it is not fair to start to blame one person. Now, responsibly, we must all take responsibility for what happened. Every single member of the New Patriotic Party, because we are going with that particular ticket. If we lost, we then all take responsibility, but we come back to the drawing board and then try to fish out the reasons and then flesh them out.
Okay.
But sir, look, let's be honest. No scientific investigation, properly so-called, can establish that one person was responsible for the defeat of the NPP.
Well, we all agree on that.
No scientific
we all agree on that. But let's wait till that
It is
comes.
not possible. The whole party was responsible for what led to this massive defeat. And the party had better come to terms with that reality. You understand? Oh, it was Akufo-Addo, it was not the rest of us. The rest of us will reorganize and take power in 2028 and so on. Stop dreaming. That whole party machinery could not perform. Finish.
Okay. I recall when the NDC lost the 2016 elections, when the former president at the time, John Mahama, met the MPs for the first time, where he did the analogy about the jockey and the horse.
Yeah.
He said, look, if the horse is not properly put in order, it doesn't matter how skillful the jockey is, he will still have problems. So I guess it buttresses the point you're making that the party would have to be fixed first.
You know, I mean, some people today are blaming our good friend, what his name used to be, former energy minister, Napo.
Yes, Matthew Progo-Prempeh.
A lot of people are blaming him for the defeat of the party.
Yes.
How can you blame him? Did he select himself as running mate? Did he select himself as running mate? Everybody knew what he was. Everybody knew his disposition. Everybody knew everything. And he was selected. So if indeed his performance was below par and so on, why? Those who select him are equally guilty. Let's stop this blame game. It's not going to help anybody. The party has been defeated in an election. The defeat was massive. I agree. Maybe some scientific evaluation of the processes will reveal, you know, the challenges that the party faced then, and which may still be confronting the party.
Okay. Okay, so Ejaba. I think Ghanaians generally were very expectant of this budget because it's the maiden budget of the president or the John Mahama administration after that historic comeback in 2024. And it's out. I would look at the Ghanaian Times of today, and if you look at the Ghanaian Times today, the front page, budget 2025, government to spend 291 billion to build more resilient, equitable society, finance minister. And the story is on page 13 of today's Ghanaian Times. So Kingsley Asari and Cynthia Asampana have reported or are reporting that the government has projected to spend 291 billion in the 2025 fiscal year to implement the budget and fund infrastructure projects. The Finance Minister, Dr. Castle Atoforsin, who asked Parliament for approval for the government to spend the amount when he presented a 2025 budget statement and economic policy to the House, said the money would be used to finance the budget and government initiatives. He said the government was estimated to raise a total revenue and grants of 223.8 billion cedis, representing 17.2% of gross domestic product GDP, up from 186.5 billion or 17.4% of GDP. The projection is underpinned by non-oil revenue measures, which are expected to yield at least 0.5% of GDP, he stated. Now, this year's budget, the first to be presented by the government, is on the theme resetting the economy for the Ghana we want. The finance minister said the government would pursue three-pronged initiatives aimed at resetting the economy and ensuring fiscal consolidation for the year. The strategies are to recalibrate the fiscal adjustment, deliver a shock therapy, and restore fiscal responsibility. Dr. Forsing asserted that those strategies would lower inflation and curb the depreciation of the cedi, lessen government reliance on borrowing, which in turn will reduce the crowding out of the private sector. The strategies will help lower interest rates and and ease the strain on monetary policy, allowing the Bank of Ghana greater flexibility to reduce monetary policy rates, ultimately resulting in lower banking lending rates or bank lending rates. Dr. Fossey said the economy the government inherited was in crisis and had not turned the corner as it was portrayed by the previous government. There, he pledged that the government would work to fix the economic challenges to bring relief to businesses and the citizenry. In this election, Dr. Fossey said the government had programmed total expenditure commitment, and he gives a breakdown for 2025 at 269.1 billion, which is 20% of GDP, down from 279.2 billion, 26.0% of GDP in 2024. He said the primary expenditure on a commitment basis, expenditures that is net of interest payments, that is less, it means less interest payments, was projected at 204.7 billion, representing 15.8% of GDP in 2025, a significant decline from 232.4, representing 21.7% of GDP in 2024. He said, Mr. Speaker, based on the resource allocations for 2025 fiscal year, total appropriation for the year ending 31st December 2025 is 290.971,212,433. Dr. Fossey said. Dr. Fossey said, based on the estimates for total revenue and grant and total expenditure commitment, the projected overall balance on commitment basis, a deficit of 43.8 billion, equivalent to 31% of GDP. So a deficit of 43.8 billion, and we'll soon find out how the government intends to make up for that. Then you look at the Herald that says Guta Imani NHIA EduWatch applaud Mohammed's 2025 budget, but Afenyo Markin calls it uninspiring. And that story is here on page 3 of today's Herald. And it says a trade union, 2 civil society organizations, and a state agency have praised the Mahama government 2025 budget statement, which Finance Minister Dr. Castle Atufosin delivered yesterday. One of them described it as a breath of fresh air. However, the minority group in Parliament, led by Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has rejected it, criticizing it as uninspiring and devoid of hope. Firstly, the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, welcomed the 2025 budget statement and economic policy and the abolition of several taxes, including the COVID-19 levy, betting tax, emission tax, and e-levy. Secondly, Kofi Asari, the executive director of Africa Education Watch, EduWatch, a civil society body, described the government allocation to the education sector in the 2025 budget as significant and unprecedented. Thirdly, Franklin Kujo, the president of the prominent civil society Imani Africa, praised the government's 2025 budget presentation, describing it as breath of fresh air, but raised concerns over the absence of a clear implementation plan for key programs, including the 24-hour economy initiative. Finally, the National Health Insurance Authority has expressed profound gratitude to President John Dramani Mahama for his leadership in uncapping the National Health Insurance Fund, a move expected to improve healthcare accessibility. And it continues to talk about that of Guta. Now, finally, Daily Guide says budget statement is Sakawa according to the minority. So that story is on page 6 of the paper, and that's what I'm going to end with before I bring in my guest to comment on the story. And Ernest Kofi Edu in Parliament says the minority in Parliament has criticized the 2025 budget statement and economic policy presented by the government, describing it as a Sakawa budget filled with deception and unrealistic promises. At the press briefing led by former Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, the minority accused the government of manipulating fiscal data, misleading Ghanaians on economic realities, and failing to address critical issues such as cost of living, transport cost, and energy bills. Now, Dr. Amin Adam challenged the government's claim that it inherited a broken economy, asserting that the fiscal deficit and primary balance figures presented in the budget has been manipulated. He accused the finance minister of artificially inflating unreleased claims by 49 billion to create the impression of a worse economic situation. The government is misinforming Ghanaians about the economy we handed over. They are quoting a fiscal deficit of 8.3% and a primary balance deficit of 3.7%. But these are cooked figures. When we interrogate the data, it will be clear that we left a primary balance surplus of 0.7%. He further criticized the finance minister for prematurely announcing that Ghana had breached the International Monetary Fund program conditions even before the IMF's official review in April 2025. According to Dr. Adam, such a move could scare away investors and harm the country's reputation in the international financial market. So there's a lot in as reported by the Daily Graphic. But I'm sure as the conversation, or when the conversation starts, we'll be referring to some of the some aspects of the report as captured in today's Daily Graphic newspaper. Now, Dr. Kabiru, you were in Parliament. We watched it on TV. We're not in Parliament. I wasn't in Parliament. I watched it on TV and followed it with rapt attention. I noticed even before the Prime Minister presented the budget, there was some back and forth between the minority leader and the Speaker of Parliament, and to some extent the majority leader, the Honourable Mahama Yariga, over the format for the presentation of the budget. Help us understand exactly what the consensus of the minority was, even before you get into specifics.
All right, so yesterday, the minister responsible for finance came to Parliament in line with Article 179 of the Constitution, read it together in conjunction with 180 of the Constitution, who basically requires the President to lay before Parliament, or cause to be laid before Parliament, estimates of revenue and expenditure. And if you read the Public Financial Management Act, it specifies how the minister will go around it. That is Section 2122
right.
of the Public Financial Management Act. Provides the guide as to how the finance minister will have to go to departments, take their estimates, send it to cabinet. After cabinet, he makes sure that by the 21st of November, he brings it to Parliament for approval and what have you. So the law regarding how the minister should prepare the budget is regulated under the Public Financial Management Act, Act 921, and then how the whole scheme, the constitutional mandate, is found in Article 179, 180. 180 is basically talks about the fact that whenever it is realized by the President that the budget will not be approved before the end or beginning of the preceding year, they will cause what they call budget in advance of appropriation. So that was done by the Nana Akufo-Addo government, and the Minister for Finance came in to present the budget. Now, Parliament also has its standing orders. That is to say, rules and regulation govern Parliament. And if you read Article 11 of the 1992 Constitution, it makes provision for laws of the country. And orders of Parliament is part of the laws of the country. And if you read around at Order 195 of our standing orders, it specifies how the minister will have to come to Parliament. And they say that Parliament may determine the format with which the statement is going to be provided. And if you just indulge me, I just want to read the relevant provision that caused the problem. Because the standing order states that the standing orders of Parliament provides that, I want to do this because people did not understand the angle from which the deputy minority chief whip was coming from.
That's Habib.
Habib raised this standing order issue at Order 194 to bring to attention of the Speaker and for guidance and interpretation for same. Why we've not determined the format, but the minister was there to present this. And mind you, this is also the new standing orders. People would ask, is it relevant? Have we not been doing these things? But once you have a new law providing how things should be done, the rational expectation is that we would go by that. So it is under the heading Financial Procedure. And 193, actually, is 195, Presentation of Annual Budget Estimate. And Order 91, Order 94, Order 195.1 states that the statement of the estimates of revenue and expenditure of the government in respect of each financial year, referred to in these orders as budget statement and economic policy of the government. Two things. The statement on the revenue expenditure, which is referred to in the standing orders as budget statement and economic policy of the government, shall be presented to the House on the day as the business committee shall determine. Yesterday was the day the business committee so determined. 2. The budget statement and economic policy of the government shall be presented to the House by the Minister responsible for finance on behalf of or on the authority of the President in a form the House may determine. In a form, emphasis my, the form was what the House never determined. Now, Habib was asking for guidance from the Speaker, whether or not how is the form the minister going to, because we have to determine, or we may determine the form, and we've not determined, and I'm applying to the speaker to let us determine the form.
Educate me on this and help me appreciate this much better. When you talk about form, how do you mean?
So now, the budget is presented. This is the budget statement.
Yes.
Now, this is the economic, the budget statement and economic policy of the government.
Yes.
Now, this is it.
Okay.
Now, what the minister comes to present is not the entirety of the that the minister presents.
It's an abridged version.
It's an abridged version.
Yes.
What are the areas the minister will focus on? What would be the time that the minister will have to use to present that?
Okay.
Because we've lived in a regime where the minister can come and keep members of parliament and the whole country for 3 hours, 5 hours to present the state of the, to present the budget. When in actual case, they would need to just use 1 hour or 30 minutes and allow the good people of Ghana or the parliamentary committee to then go through the whole budget and then do their work on oversight. This is, I think, the reasoning behind the provision in the standing order that the form must be determined.
Okay.
Or maybe, if I have to be fair, may be determined. But the speaker, in his ruling, felt like, okay, what they are going to present is not the budget and economic statement, it's the speech. But I find that to be, if you read 195.1, they are referring to the statement as the economic statement and financial, if you like.
So your point is that quite clear.
Economic policy of budget statement, economic policy of government.
Yes.
So the statement as presented or the address in the standing orders did not make differentiation whether the address is going to be different from this statement. Okay, and that the address will not be conformed by the format.
Okay.
So that was the difficult, but the speaker is very experienced. He's been through this. He's the most experienced person in the House. He feels like, okay, what the minister is going to do is not covered under that. And even the law says may. Once we've not determined, he could go ahead with the presentation. So that was the issue. It has to do with more, it was a procedural issue,
okay,
more of a procedure than substance.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a substantive issue, but it has to do with the House procedural matters and how order and business of House
when did
conducted.
Habib and Afenyo-Markin discovered that there was no clarity as far as this matter is concerned, so that they could have brought it to the attention of the speaker for this matter to be fixed even way before the speaker comes, so that we don't have to...
So you see, the standing order, just like the laws of the country,
yes,
you can detect any anomaly at any time.
Okay.
I've been in the House, there are proceedings going on, and I'm reading the relevant provision, and I get to realize that no, we are actually breaching the standing orders in this regard. You don't have to. That's why Order 122 of the standing orders of the Parliament says that you can interrupt proceedings at any time. If you realize that a member is out of order, there's point information, or they have specified the condition under which you can interrupt the business of the House.
Yes.
Okay, under Order 122. So I did not know the time, and the minority caucus did not also even discuss it. It was people would have thought that it is a decision by the whole minority caucus to disrupt. But Habib realized a very important, statutory issue. He felt that I needed to bring it to the attention of the speaker, for the speaker to guide the House, so that it will also be on record that in the future, if a minister comes to Parliament to present a statement which has not got prior determination of format by Parliament, there's not going to be any legal issue or someone raising issue of impropriety. Okay, I believe it's well and good that before a minister of finance comes to Parliament to present, he discusses with the leadership of Parliament to tell them that I want to go my presentation within this particular minute, in this particular format. They will guide him to say, okay, in the best interest of our work, focus on A, B, C, D, because we will be doing the vetting, we will be doing the approval. That discussion helps governance, and it will not be bad.
Okay.
The fact that he did not do it is not a fatal injury to the presentation, and I must concede. But it was a matter of procedure, it was a matter of law governing parliamentary business that Honorable Abib Idris, the member for...
But to the extent that this whole debate took time in Parliament, must have been about 10-15 minutes or so. I think at some point where the Speaker had to come and say, look, it's not even a shouting battle. As far as he's concerned, this is the budget of the President. The Minister is there to present it. Allow him to present it. I'm saying that the ambiguity which has not been clarified in the standing orders. Okay. Now, if it is not explicit, it is not very clear in the standing orders of the House. Yes, I agree that it's not a fatal injury, or it's not a fatal omission. What regulation, rule, or law would have the Finance Minister broken or breached if he hadn't necessarily waited for you to get the Speaker of Parliament to say, okay, let the format be this way before the Finance Minister proceeds with his job?
So you see,
I don't want to get it.
Yeah, I get the point. You are saying that couldn't we have allowed the minister
to just go ahead and present, yes.
then
and then later
we'll
come and fix it.
But you see, the minister is coming to Parliament, and Parliament hands will have to capture him.
Okay.
And that someone can challenge the conduct or activity of minister if the procedure is not right.
But what would be the grounds?
The ground, that's what I'm saying, that if, Afanyomake in his submission stated that there are occasions where the Supreme Court had occasion to rule that where may is, it shall be interpreted to mean shall. Right?
Yes.
So the wording is may, which allows flexibility. If you do it, good. If you don't do it, no cause for alarm. But in this situation, could it have been that may there would have to take a contextual meaning of shall? If that's the case, then the whole speech, if had been presented without us clarifying this, someone could go to the Supreme Court and say that, you see, A, B, C, D,
okay,
it is not done procedurally, so the minister may have to come, or the whole exercise is in nullity.
Okay.
And that was what Abib kept. And I think that his intervention should not be trivialized. They should look at it from the point that it addressed a procedural issue, and it gave the Minister of Finance the gravitas to then say that whatever I'm doing now is legally and procedurally sound.
So that's the, and I need some education here. So that's the Speaker's final ruling on the matter solve the problem? Does that address the problem?
Yeah, it did, because the Speaker's ruling becomes part of the laws of the House, because we are guided by the Constitution, standing orders, precedents.
Okay.
And the precedents is just like the stare decisis, okay, in legal parlance.
Yeah.
So when the Speaker rules,
you didn't tell me you're in law school. I mean, you're not supposed to be good friends. You don't hide these things from me. Don't do that.
No.
Because you're not speaking law.
No, I'm a former student. So,
you're a former student. Okay.
So that is that. It becomes part of the parliamentary jurisprudence.
Right.
All right. So that is the angle the intervention helps.
Okay. Obviously, I mean, when I was watching, I was like, I thought this was much ado about nothing. But
I'm still stunned.
Why?
What did they seek to achieve? What was the defect? What was the harm? What was the mischief that intervention sought to cure? Nothing. Just noise making.
Obviously, that's not fair.
Absolutely fair. If there was nothing, if there was no mischief that had to be cured, if there's no harm that had to be cured, and so on, what's the point? Is that not just a waste of time? Look, since 1992, finance ministers have been presenting budgets to Parliament. This is the format it has always taken. What's the problem?
There's a new standing order.
So that's the point.
And even the new standing orders uses the word may.
Yes.
Which suggests that there is no obligation. You understand? So what's all this noise? I mean, really, sometimes we behave as if we don't have problems in this country. This is a country which is really under heavy problems and so on. And one would have thought that we would concentrate on substance. You understand? And then we spend, you said 10 minutes. I thought it was more than 10 minutes.
Well, 15, 20 minutes.
You know, and I was watching television with a number of people. There were about 15 of us watching it together. And everybody in the room was angry. What is happening? What is this? I'm sure you know the anger. You know, people genuinely felt angry at these trivialities. So, format and so on. How does it depart from the policy orientation of the budget? How does it depart from the concrete proposals which are in the budget and so on? How does that contribute to alleviating poverty, for example? Nothing. Just a waste of time. And look, I think they say Parliament makes its own rules and so on. I cannot object and so on. But you see, increasingly, people want to see Parliament as being relevant to their condition. They want to see Parliament as being a very serious forum for serious discussions about substance and so on. And parliamentarians have a responsibility to meet the expectations of the people. I mean, what happened really? I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Ronkwesi, you appear on Good Morning Ghana every Wednesday, and we're very grateful that you're able to do that.
Yes.
When we raise issues on Good Morning Ghana, and those issues are not newspaper triggered, let me use that for want of a better expression, you would raise reservations, you know, because as far as you're concerned, there's a certain format. On Good Morning Ghana, when we come, we say, what are the newspapers reporting? And then we pick your thoughts and you express an opinion. So if you appear on Good Morning Ghana, and I decide to trigger a conversation without necessarily resorting to the newspapers, it doesn't matter how relevant the conversation is, but I'm sure you draw my attention and say, look, this is how the format is, as I've come to know it.
Massa.
Isn't it?
No. No. And no.
Okay.
First of all, Good Morning Ghana is not Parliament. It's not supposed to operate the way Parliament.
No, that's a principle I'm trying to establish.
Can I finish? It's not supposed to operate the way Parliament operates. You understand? Then secondly, this program is a newspaper review program.
True.
By its very nature, it's designed to review newspapers.
Yes.
So you cannot bring us here in the morning and start asking us to discuss and answer stories.
Right.
It will be strange, completely out of place.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So I think that the distinction should be clear
yes.
now.
Okay.
There's a newspaper review program. It's not an answer storytelling program. Finish.
But you believe in the format of the program, even though
I'm invited to a newspaper review program.
Yes.
And I come to a newspaper review program. And when I come to a newspaper review program, I expect it to be a newspaper review
So
program.
that's the same principle he's establishing. Is that in Parliament, there's a format for presentation of budget per the new standing orders of the House. You ought to respect that format. And that's where it was coming from. My only difficulty with him what's the format?
What format?
But he said the format has not been clearly stated in the standing orders of the House.
Massa, you have raised the point. What format?
There it isn't there in the standing
so
orders.
So
why are we
in the format
determined?
Master,
can I finish?
I thought I was just providing guidance so that because you continue from there, it's not that I'm interrupting your
carry on.
So the standing order 195 says that 195.2 says that in a format determined by Parliament.
Yes.
How Parliament conduct those things. One could say, okay, let's go to the schedules because there are some formats already specified in the schedules of the standing orders. Where there are no such schedules, the House, the Speaker may then say, okay, let's agree among leadership. This is how it's going to go, right? That's the format. That was the prior determination of that format was what was not done, and that was the basis for the question. Because Habib said that he has gone through the schedules. If you listen to his presentation, he has not even seen those particular formats that it's supposed to be followed, and they have not discussed it. So he wants guidance from the Speaker. That was basically what Honorable Habib did.
Okay. Yeah. So now to substance, more specifically what the Finance Minister has said. Uncle Z, like you said, you watched it on TV. What are your general thoughts about the budget?
Well, there are several ways of assessing this budget.
Right.
And one of the key ways of assessing this budget is to look at whether or not manifesto promises are being met. Okay. Because the government which has put this budget before us came to us and said, vote for me and I'll do X, Y, Z. Whether those promises have any value or validity, or whether those promises can actually solve the problems of this country is another matter. They made a promise to us, and in evaluating this budget, we need to look at whether or not the promises have been kept. That's one way of looking at it. The second way of looking at the budget is to look at the frame within which the budget is presented. You know, what is it? What is the political frame within which this budget has been manufactured, if you want? What is the ideological frame? That's another way of looking at the budget. Then there's a third way of looking at the budget, whether indeed the problems that we believe exist today can be cured by this budget. So there are several ways of looking at this budget. Some may even want to look at style. Your style tells a lot. And if I'm looking at style, I must say that yesterday I really felt a bit sick, about style. This whole business of finance ministers walking into parliament with briefcases and raising the briefcases to show us, this comical thing, what is it meant to achieve?
But the briefcase was produced locally. And in the budget, the finance minister talks about encouraging Ghanaians to consume local goods. And so it's leadership, he wants to show leadership. Uncle Z.
If that's the way you want to look at it, that's up to you.
Okay.
But I've known every finance minister walking to parliament with some kind of briefcase, sometimes very funny looking briefcases, and throwing it into our faces and so on. What is that meant to do? What kind of style is
So
that?
that's the briefcase, yes. It was produced by Tony Sanyaya. But Uncle Kwesi has a problem with this briefcase.
No, I don't have a problem with the briefcase.
Generally,
I don't have a problem with the briefcase.
Yes.
But this whole idea of finance ministers coming with sometimes very funny looking briefcases and so on, and thrusting it into our faces. And you see, if you watch them,
yes,
it looks like the impression you get is that, all the solutions of the country's problems are in this briefcase.
Yes.
Sometimes you may even be tempted to think that the briefcase is carrying the money which is going to be used to solve our problems and so on. I mean, in terms of its aesthetic value, I think it's a useless exercise which must be stopped. Absolutely useless exercise. But that's just about, aesthetics and so on. You understand? There were a few significant things in the budget which struck me. And one of the things that struck me was the repeated reference to the International Monetary Fund. And you know my position on that. We are told that we have to review, our value-added tax. And the minister says, we've invited a specialized team from the IMF to come and help us review value-added tax. My goodness. This is a country which has a faculty, economics, which has been headed by distinguished professors and so on in economics. Look at UGMC, look at University of Ghana, look at all the universities we have. And we are still being told by our leaders that even to review VAT, we have to go and bring strangers, to come and help us. Do they know our economy better than all these experts we have locally? It is shocking. I don't know why we haven't gotten out of this yet. Why we always have to run to some IMF, some foreigners, and so on, in order to find solutions to very, very simple problems. and so on. I mean, that struck me, and I hesitated a bit. But then on listening to the budget, generally, I came to the conclusion that, look, it's still in the neoliberal framework. So maybe they can be forgiven. Still in the neoliberal framework, it does not address the fundamental issues of development for a country like Ghana. You understand? That was my view. However, if you look at it from the point of view of the fulfillment of manifesto promises, I think it's an excellent budget. Okay, what did they tell us? That they will remove e-levy. They have removed e-levy. They told us that they will remove betting tax. They've removed betting tax. They told us that they will remove emission tax. They have removed those taxes. In fact, all of the taxes that they told us were going to remove have been removed. You understand? With the exception of the one which is embedded in the VAT structure. And the explanation is that because the VAT structure is being reviewed and so on, it makes sense to wait. And I agree with them that it makes sense to wait. One of the other promises which was made to us, was that the government was going to take measures to seal the holes in the economy. And we had assurances that those holes would be sealed. And those are huge holes. In fact, they are craters in the economy. And government gave the indication that those holes were going to be sealed. Now, there was some very interesting reaction to the budget. One of the most interesting reactions to the budget is the reaction to the removal of the e-levy. And Massa, I go back to the election manifestos. Which political party did not promise to cancel the e-levy? Show me one political party who did not promise to cancel.
They all promised to remove e-levy.
So if it has been removed, what is the big deal now? Now they are raising the question about, we need a lot of tax revenue to be able to govern the country, there are holes in the economy and so on. And therefore, how are you going to fill the hole which is going to be created as a result of the removal of e-levy and so on? When you were promising to remove e-levy, how did you plan to plug those holes and so on? And yesterday, the Minister for Finance gave an answer, which simply said that they were cutting down government expenditure as a means of plugging those holes. Now, I go back to the fundamental principles of taxation. And my brother here, I'm sure, is very conversant with the fundamental principles of taxation. And the most outstanding principle of taxation is this. The question of equality does not arise in taxation. Equality does not arise in taxation. The principle is to tax those who have more than they need, a lot more, and to tax those who don't have less.
They call it progressive taxation.
Whatever they call it.
Yes.
But that's the principle.
Yes.
So in taxation, it is possible always, and indeed it should happen always, to cancel some taxes and impose new taxes in order to bring about a certain level of equilibrium.
Yeah.
So if you come to me and you say, why? They have cancelled 3 taxes and imposed 4, that's a non-issue. What we ought to be addressing is whether or not the whole arrangement is fair, whether the whole arrangement will lead to the alleviation of poverty, whether the whole arrangement will lead to stimulating growth, will lead to improving the quality of life of people. Those are the critical questions we answered, not the number of taxes. Why do some people make us always feel like, they think they are talking to fools? We are not. You understand? So, they cancel 4 taxes and impose 5. So what? What is the objective? What is likely? What is going to be the likely consequence of this new arrangement? Does it fit into the policy orientation and so on? These are the critical things. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I do, totally.
And then there's this whole debate about GDP and So, oh my goodness. Please don't treat us that way. Don't treat the citizens of Ghana that way. Why? On this very platform, this program, when Randy used to be in the chair, we used to constantly remind ourselves that when Ghana starts paying its debts, the real economic situation will hit us in the face. We stopped paying debts for over a year. Understand? So at the time when your debt payment has been suspended, you will post higher GDP than when you start paying the debt. Common sense. Just common sense. And yet you are being whipped with this. I can't believe it. What do they think of us? Why? They think that we are all yo-yos or something? Let's have a serious discussion of the state of the national economy. And so, you know, I've done some checks since the budget. And I've been surprised by some of the things that I've found. One of the things that I've found, for example, is that the cost of education in Ghana is the highest in the world. Check.
Really?
Yes. The cost of education is the highest in the world. Shouldn't we begin to think about how to reduce that cost? First of all, what are the factors which make the cost of education in Ghana the highest in the world? And what measures can we take in order to bring down the cost of education? These are the things that we should be interrogating. You understand? The joblessness. What are the things that we need to do in order to stimulate job creation? That's how we should be looking at the budget. You have a situation where cocoa production over the last 2 years has fallen by more than 60%. Cocoa production has fallen by more than 60%. And then you are in Parliament telling me that your GDP was higher than this GDP and so on. Is that an issue? No matter what the GDP is, cocoa production has fallen by about 60%. You are living in an economy where all your water bodies have been so badly polluted, which is going to affect, fish production, for example, is going to be heavily affected. Your importation of fish is going to go up. Your medical bills are going to go up as a result of that. I'm saying, children are being born without eyes, deformed at birth, and so on. And then you're telling me about GDP. What does that mean? In any case, GDP is a statistical average. And no statistical average tells the full story unless you break it down. And so look, they should come and tell us something better. What they are doing sometimes, it's really nauseating. They are talking about a situation in which, Massa, and I'm not lying, you all know it's the truth. In a matter of 8 years, you have managed to bring the price of a ball of kenke from 50 pesos, not to 1 cedi, not to 2 cedis, not to 3 cedis, but to 5 cedis. And you're telling me about GDP, that you had a higher GDP than the one which is projected for now? What does it mean? Talk to commercial drivers, my brother. Go and talk to the commercial drivers. Many of these taxi and trotro drivers, they wake up at dawn. They wake up at dawn and slave for 18 hours. At the end of the day, they cannot make their daily sales. So they have to go and borrow in order to make their daily sales so that they can keep their vehicles. They are dying. They are dying. They cannot look after their children and so on. These are the things we should be addressing. And then you come and tell me about GDP. What does that mean? What does that really mean? I have a friend who plays the guitar. He's a professional musician. He plays the guitar. 2 weeks ago, His child was knocked down by a vehicle. Knocked down by a vehicle. And they had to rush the child to one of those hospitals. They were presented with a bill which had to be paid before they touched the child of 120,000 Ghana cedis.
Wow.
How is he ever going to raise 120,000 cedis? This is the issue we should be addressing in the budget. You understand? Both of you, you are a member of parliament. You understand? Honorable member of parliament. Master, you are a respected member of our society. Very well educated and so on. If any of you today was hit with a medical bill of 120,000 Ghana cedis, could you pay?
We'll struggle to pay. Uncle, so I'll come back to you. Let me
just so these are the issues we should be discussing.
I'll do this quickly, but I have a portion on the cocoa production thing you said, and it looks quite grim. I'll read that shortly. But you're watching Good Morning Ghana. Please stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Mr. Speaker, just...
Who are you? Charlie, I'll be you from the future. Who doesn't sleep on that slice of bready poor mattress anymore? Don some slippers, then follow me.
It is part of the mattress we did the front there.
Yeah?
That be the mattress where the dead put on.
Wait, what are you doing? Wow! No damage at all. Not only durable, but also super comfortable. Come on, try it.
Nothing day like ash foam. Enjoy full body support and unparalleled comfort for restful sleep.
Don't forget your keys.
Get the premium sleep experience with mattresses from Ash Foam. Visit any of our showrooms nationwide or at ashfoam.com.
Mommy.
Michelle say, fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Chocolate Toothpaste, Sankofa.
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
In an era where fire safety is paramount, Kabori Film Compound Technologies Limited stands out as a leader in the development of innovative fire dousing solutions. With a focus on aqueous film forming foam, the company provides a cutting-edge product that significantly enhances fire suppression capabilities across various sectors, including maritime, industrial, and emergency response.
The oil and gas sector, along with chemical manufacturing facilities and fire services.
Kabori's advanced film technology offers a more efficient and environmentally responsible alternative.
Kabori is recognized for its superior extinguishing capabilities and prolonged resistance to reignition. Kabori's product is certified by the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Standards Authority, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Nigerian Standards Organization.
Kabori Film Compound Limited is situated in Nsawam within the eastern region of Ghana. For inquiries, reach out to them on 0245-885-288 or 0244-514-048. You may also contact them via email at info@kaborifilm.com. Kabori Film Compound Technologies Limited, providing film compound solutions to help institutions.
You're the answer to my prayer. You're with tonight.
Attention all farmers, are you ready to take your crops to the next level? Introducing 3 effective organic composts that will revolutionize your farming practices. ACAP, KCAP and IRECOP brings to you the ultimate solution for your fertilizer needs. Introducing the ACAP Grade A, KCAP Equiafua Jinkwa and the IRECOP with cocoa blends, palm blend and mulch. These are made from locally sourced municipal solid waste, and these are the perfect choice for sustainable farming. Join the organic revolution today. Boost your crop yield, improve soil health, and support sustainable farming practices. Choose ACAP, KCAP, and IRECOP organic compost for a greener and bountiful harvest. For your purchase and more information, call the numbers on your screen. Our products are endorsed by COCOBOD, Planting for Food and Jobs, and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
The economy was not in crisis. President Mahama used the SONA to lament over an economy which was not in crisis. And yet he told Ghanaians the economy was in crisis. The Minister for Finance also tried to do same. But however, we all heard him alluding to the fact that this economy is a strong economy. You watched the hesitation when it came to announcing the growth figures. You also watched with hesitation by the minister when it came to the debt levels, the debt to GDP levels. The reality is that as of the end of last year, 2024, growth rate, real GDP growth, was 5.7%. And this was released just yesterday by the Ghana Statistical Service, confirmed by the minister today. We took over from the NDC in 2016 with a growth rate of 3.4%. 3.4% against 5.7%. Mahama said was criminally mismanaged, and which grew at 5.7%. Left them with 4 months of import cover. In this year's budget, 2025, they are projecting to achieve 3 months of import cover, which is even worse than what they recorded in 2016. Are we moving forward or we are moving backward? So if a broken economy could leave 4 months of import cover, how come a reset economy is contemplating going back to 3 months of import cover? Ladies and gentlemen, the debt to GDP of Ghana, they have made all the noise about the MPP government excessively borrowing. The debt to GDP at the end of 2024 was 61.8%. Debt to GDP ratio, 61.8%. NDC, when they left office in 2016, it was 73% to debt sustainability path. And we are just left with little percentage points, the 55%. But looking at the way they've started borrowing, I am worried.
I see. You're still watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television, and it's getting more and more interesting. But anyway, I do have here in the studio Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr., who's the managing editor of the Insight newspaper, and also Dr. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama, who is the MP for Wale Wale and a former technical advisor to the office of the former Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Baumia. Doc, obviously, I don't know whether I should come back to you to land on your point, or I should just go to Doc straight away. Okay, so that's fine. So, Doc, you have already described the budget as a Sakawa budget. I mean, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah, anyway, why do you think it's a Sakawa budget?
So that would appear harsh, but when you give a description to an event or a document, you may have to proffer reason that will let the good people of Ghana appreciate why you have to describe it as such. First and foremost, the finance minister did well. He did well by capturing some of their manifesto promise and letting them find expression. And to that extent, when a government presents a budget and make provision for some of the things they promise the good people of Ghana, it inspires some bit of hope in the government. And every government, especially after a heated election, would reflect on their manifesto promises and deliver on some of them. And the 2017 budget was almost greeted with the same euphoria as the euphoria around this particular budget. But you see, if you have the benefit of insight, the benefit of experience, and the benefit of following details, then your duty, as it were, is to then point out to the, if everyone is following the euphoria, then we'll be lost. The country will have no direction. So the minority duty is then to look away, depart from the euphoria, and look at the reality. Because the minister came in to present a budget. As a matter of fact, even the order and arrangement of the budget was the carrot and stick. And he made sure that the stick was not felt in the presentation, but was spread across, but the carrot was condensed together so that everyone would say, we have abolished this, we have abolished this, we have abolished this. That sounds catchy, that sounds good, everyone will be happy. But he then spread a litany of austerity measures, spread across the document, that it has to take someone with proper concentration to follow him through the litany of austerity measures. For instance, we feel that the finance minister was dishonest to the good people of Ghana, and the dishonesty is explained by two things. He used data in the statement which is totally different from the document they have presented to us. That's the first dishonesty.
Okay.
For instance.
So first of all, what is contained in this document? Read this. I want you to, if you can do that quickly.
I can give an example. I can give an example. He told you people that the total projected revenue was 223.8 billion.
Yes.
Representing about 17.2% of GDP.
Okay.
In their document, in this particular document they presented to us, their total projection of revenue was 16.1% of GDP, and it is 224.9 billion. That's one.
So clearly there's some discrepancies.
Okay. Aside these discrepancies, the finance minister wanted to create a sense that we're in debt distress situation and that we have incurred so much debt. What is the measure of that? You can't say that on vocal. Either use absolute numbers of debt or you index it to the size of the economy. But he was running away from that until the Ghana Statistical Service came out only yesterday, the day before, to mention the size of the economy. Virtually, he was forced then to say that, look, our economy has grew by the level of the economy is now 1.2 trillion, which effectively means that when we index our debt to our GDP, our debt to GDP is now 61.8%. What is the debt sustainability threshold? You are talking about something 60%, but the IMF program even puts it at 55%.
By 2028.
By 2028.
Yes.
And then we are already at 61.8%. From the debt of, we're talking about 105% to GDP.
Yeah.
At a point 80%, at a point 60%. So if you are talking about the debt situation, then you need to appreciate the fact that, look, you cannot make this argument on the debt because the debt situation is sustainable, or it's not yet sustainable, 155, but it is on the verge of sustainability. Because you only have about 8 percentage points to bring it back to the IMF target by 2028. And effectively, you are given 4 years to manage our debt. That is one. Two, the finance minister created a sense that we want to contain expenditure. But you bring us a budget that your expenditure is far in excess of expenditure by Nana Akufo-Addo even under election year. Not even election year. This is your first year. And your budget estimate far outweighs the expenditure Nana Akufo-Addo had when he was even conducting elections. We all know elections, government will want to do more projects in order to gain the currency for it. That is another. The finance minister, in his speech, tried to create the sense that, government would default. I find it interesting that a finance minister is already telling IMF mission, which is going to come and assess you and release funds to you, that we are going to default. The finance minister mentioned it to them. Look, why will you want investors to come and invest in your economy? and the IMF program is to give you policy credibility. You are calling people to come and invest in your economy. At the same time, you are telling them that the credibility the IMF is going to give us will not get it because we are going to default. Why would he say that? Because he wants an opportunity to spend his way out of the conditionalities of the IMF. The speaker, I mean the finance minister talk about taxes. Look, e-levy was going to go. We are all happy. We have to commend the government for letting it go because we also promised there's no big deal about it. It is going, it has gone. We say the government thank you and the government has done well. You promised that you are going to do away with emission levy. This is a tax that was never even implemented in the first place. Not one single city was taken from emission levy. The government put a hold on it, but you make campaign out of it. You are coming, you are saying you are removing it. Fair and good, but that was not even a burden on the Ghanaian people. So effectively, you have done nothing. Because your essence of governance is to remove burden, to take away burden from the people. So if you go and take away emission tax, you have done nothing because it was not a burden on the Ghanaian people. That is, but it is going. You can say that let's give them the political effect, the propaganda effect of it. You are saying you are doing away with betting tax. Now, the income tax amendment law Act 1094, which came in to amend our income tax law, introduced two things: tax on lottery, tax on betting, tax on gross gaming revenues. 20% on gross gaming revenues, 10% on withholding tax on betting, and 10% withholding tax on lottery gains. Now you come to promise the good people of Ghana that, Mr. Speaker, we are abolishing the 10% withholding tax on lottery winnings, also known as betting tax. Basically, that statement is a statement, of dubious nature.
You find it ambiguous?
It's I find it ambiguous. And I'll come to justify why. If you go to paragraph 6 of his statement, he listed a number of things that are to be amended. If you want to abolish that, then you have to go and amend the income tax law.
Yes.
But it has not been stated as part of the things they want to amend. How are you going to do it? So if you come and tell the good people...
But you know, you know what the position of the NDC has been.
I agree.
As far as this
their position on COVID-19 was to do away. They didn't tell us they were going to do rationalization of VAT. So people's position can change.
Yes, that's fine.
So that's what I'm saying. Don't just go what the NDC position on matter is. Okay. COVID-19, their position was that we are doing away with COVID-19 levy.
Right.
In clear, unambiguous
I'm only asking about the issue you raised about the ambiguity surrounding...
I'm saying the ambiguity first in the statement you have stated.
Yes. And I'm saying...
You are referring to two things.
Yes.
Which of them?
No, I'm saying that the ambiguity as to whether it's going to be 10% on lottery earnings or 10% on betting tax, on betting.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, yes, you can argue that the statement as was made by the finance minister, you can argue was not that clear. But I'm saying that if you put that within the context of what the position of the NDC has been in the past, then we can move on.
No.
You don't think so?
So the question is,
yes,
you need to tell the good people. I cannot assume that what it's referring to is the betting tax as was being imposed on people operating under the Ghana Gaming Commission.
Okay.
I cannot assume. Okay. Because if I were even going to give him the benefit of that, I would have looked at the tax, the laws he want to amend.
Okay.
If I find the relevant law there, I'll say, okay, this is what he's referring to.
Oh, I get it now.
But it's not even there.
I get
that is one. So you cannot impose or review tax without asking for an amendment to some provision. And in paragraph 6 of his statement, he mentioned those things he wanted to review. It did not include the betting tax law,
which is contained in the income,
in the Income Tax Amendment
Act.
Right. So that is the first thing. Two, this statement by the finance minister being taken out of context, and people, this is the finance minister, by former finance minister, is the finance minister who should be explaining to good people of Ghana. When I said I'm going to remove 10% withholding tax on lottery winnings, does that mean those regulated under the NLA? If that is what you mean by betting tax, then the answer by the former finance minister is that we were not even taxing it. That's the answer he's giving.
But you see, but Amin Adam, Dr. Amin Adam, was very explicit. He was very clear.
Yes.
He said, we're not implementing as a country. In fact, the President Akufo-Addo administration never implemented a betting tax. It was very clear.
No, this is what he said. He was very careful with what he said. That
betting tax
was not even implemented.
Good, that betting tax. So if someone used it, that's what I'm saying. Use it. Look, Ghanaians, we are so much in a hurry to run to town with people tips without even analyzing each and every specific word of the minister or the former minister used. He said that betting tax was not even implemented.
But why could it have said that lottery tax?
No, because the
tax.
statement, he's referring to someone's statement. I'm not going to put words into your own statement and interpret the way I want.
Okay, so he's referring to what the finance minister has said. It's not been implemented.
It's not been implemented because you are telling us that you are going to abolish.
But you're saying the finance minister's statement, it's not clear.
No.
So what is he responding to?
I'm saying that the finance minister's statement stated that we are going to abolish 10% withholding tax on any lotto winnings.
I'll read it.
Yeah, paragraph.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, on lottery winnings, also known as betting tax.
Yes.
And the former finance minister is telling you that if what you are referring to as lottery tax, betting tax, is the lottery win, then we are not even implementing that. That you are referring to as betting tax, we are not implementing it. Which is a matter of fact that the government never implemented that component of the tax. Right? So when the finance minister says that, it is for the, when the former finance minister says that, it's for the finance minister to come and tell her, look, the good person, what I meant by this statement was to the effect that I am abolishing 10% withholding tax, 10% withholding on earnings from betting, regulated under the Ghana Gaming Commission. Right? There is also another component of 20% tax on that. That one was not taxed. My understanding is that is staying. There's another 10% on lottery that is staying, but which of them is he reviewing? He has to explain to the good people of Ghana. And what you presented to the good people of Ghana as constituting the betting tax, the government is the former finance minister is telling you that it was not implemented ab initio. So there's no burden taken out of the Ghanaian people. That he also mentioned about the fact that there's 1%.
So we have programmed. Let me just read this. We have programmed the following taxes for removal. In line with our manifesto promise. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% tax on winning from lottery.
Yes.
So I totally agree with you.
Yes.
Because that hasn't been implemented yet. Okay. Now, the government will also eliminate the 10% withholding tax on betting. 10%? So you see, he said two things. Yes. Do you get it? So the first one is that...
I don't know where you are reading from.
Oh, I'm reading it from, directly from...
Let me, I'm not sure what you're reading from. Page what?
So I'm reading from Ajo Online.
No,
because
so
I don't want to trace the entire thing.
I will send you the statement.
And it's a quote.
No, don't do. I will send you the statement.
Okay, let me go back to the statement.
The statement will help you, not what someone is reported to have said.
Okay. Let me go back to the statement. But because you see, we need to bring clarity on this matter.
I can help you with the statement. This is the statement.
You know, that particular portion.
That particular portion, and I can give it to you to read.
Good.
I can give it to you to read for the purpose of.
In fact, Annie has just sent me that particular.
You can read paragraph 141.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker.
Don't worry. I'm opening what Annie has just sent to me too, so that we can.
He said, Mr. Speaker, I will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as betting tax.
Yes.
2, we will abolish the electronic transfer levy, into brackets e-levy of 1%. 3, we will abolish the emission levy on industry and vehicle. 4, we will abolish the VAT on motor vehicles.
Page 20. No, it's a page.
I said paragraph 141, page 41.
Okay, page 41. Good. Yes. Please go ahead.
So we would 5. We will abolish the 1.5 withholding tax on winnings of unprocessed gold by small-scale miners. These were the taxes the president was removing through the finance minister.
And what do you exactly find? Good. So here we are, 141. Yes. Thank you very much, Andy, for this. We would abolish 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax.
Yes. So our point is that if what you are referring to as the betting tax is the winnings on lotteries, then that tax was not even implemented ab initio. So that is a statement by the finance minister. But you see, this attitude of Ghanaians, when someone says something and you go and take tips, oh, Obwadi said this person said this person said this, you lose the argument because when you are faced with the document, you have no other conclusion but to come to the conclusion that the former finance minister reached. Now, let's even move away.
I think the finance minister would have to come clean.
No. Let me finish my point. I'll bring you in. I'll bring you in. I want him to learn so that I can bring you in. But I get it. I know what.
And even in my presentation, you admit that there are questions,
there are interruptions.
Listen.
You had on a fed.
Listen.
Yes.
The minister says that lottery tax.
Yes.
Which is
also known as betting tax.
Yeah. Is that not clear enough?
Good. It is clear. If that understanding we are having, we are telling
you
that
not
that was not implemented. That's the point we are making. That if it is clear,
what is referring to is the betting tax.
Good. And I was saying that was not.
The reason why I understand you.
But why are we reducing all of this to?
No, it's important.
Because they want to impute something the finance minister has said. And I'm happy.
This betting tax thing was a big deal in the lead up to the elections, and so we ought to be very clear.
He says, "What I mean, the minister is saying what I mean
betting tax
is betting tax."
Yes, but
so
why in itself,
all this rigmarole?
No, that in itself is a little problematic.
How is it problematic?
You see, because there is a 10% tax on lottery, separate from the betting tax. The two are not the same. Now, the 10% tax on lottery, it's not been implemented because you see, the NLA, the chaps, the stakeholders who work in NLA, have said that, look, those of us who are stakeholders in this industry are compelled by our regulator or are compelled by the nature of the business we're doing to embark on what they call good causes. More or less like a CSR, corporate social responsibility. They are supposed to be building toilets and doing all kinds of things for people. And so if you charge or slap a tax on our operations, you make it difficult for us to embark on some of these CSRs. The betting guys don't have that. They do not have that kind of imposition. You know, they are not obliged to embark on any of these CSRs. And so they are at liberty to do it or not to do it. And so if you charge them 10% on betting tax, they'll understand. They don't have a problem with that. But the lottery guys are saying they have a problem with that. And that is why, and it is this back and forth that has put the 10% charge on lottery wins on hold. So it is important that we put it in the proper context. Otherwise, people get confused. But I'm saying that the wording of that particular statement in itself lent itself to some kind of ambiguity. And I get where Dr. Kabir is coming from. So maybe the finance minister would have to go back and look at the wording of that statement.
He has to do his work and tell us what is referring.
That's the point I'm making.
Yes. The two of you. Is this a substantive issue?
It depends on who.
It is.
Look, for the
it's a substantive issue because it goes
a big deal.
It goes to the heart of a campaign promise. It goes to the heart of our income tax law.
Is there any doubt? Is there any doubt that the betting tax has been abolished? Is there any doubt?
But which of them?
Which of them?
That's the problem.
Betting tax.
Which no?
The of them. Because from the statement of the finance minister, you cannot determine that. That's the point.
Are not the same. Remember, lottery is being administered or regulated by the NLA.
So the two of you actually believe that the betting tax has not been abolished.
We are
are you saying
no? Based on the NDC's campaign promise, I have no doubt that the finance minister was referring to the betting tax. But I'm saying that the wording, the way it was couched,
so
is
if there is no doubt, why?
No. There is doubt because two events make me doubt that.
Okay, the amendments.
One, there's no corresponding amendment.
Yes.
And if you contemplate to do something, you reflect on the relevant amendments to make it justified. That's one.
A fact, yes.
Two, there is also the belief that if this promise is what we are thinking, there's no need to do any amendment because it's not even implemented in a way.
So Kabiru, let me also ask you.
That's one. Three.
I want us to move on. Let me ask you this. I beg you. Let me ask you this.
What has not been implemented?
No, the 10% tax on lottery. But here's the thing.
The betting tax has not been implemented.
You're confusing. That's what you are shuffling.
But the point I'm trying to make is this, Dr. Kabiru. If Dr. Amin Adam is not clear.
I am not confused at all.
That's fine.
I have no confusion in my
I'll come back to you. But if Dr. Amin Adam is not clear whether the finance minister was referring to the 10% tax on winnings, is it, you call it winnings after lottery, whatever it is, or 10% on betting.
Yeah.
Why does he then proceed?
No. I mean, Ante is clear on what he's referring to.
How can it be clear? Because
it's
you are even saying
let me tell you why it's clear. The ambiguity is coming because the government is pushing that they have abolished betting
10%
tax.
of betting.
And we are telling them your statement is not saying that. Your statement is saying that you are abolishing 10% on lottery winners. That's what your statement is. And we are saying that if that is what you are referring as betting tax, then you've not done anything because it was not already implemented. There's no ambiguity as to the position of the minority and the statement because the statement clearly tells us what they want to do. So now, if the finance minister wants to come back and tell us that, look, I made a mistake. I was conflating betting tax with lottery tax and that I didn't get the decision quite well. For the purpose of clarity, I am abolishing the 10% withholding tax on winnings from betting activities or game of chance. Okay. That will be clear enough for everyone. We then agree that, well, this was an issue, you have abolished it. Okay. And then we then refer him to the corresponding amendment he has to do in the law to make it effective. That is the point. Okay. Now, the minister also talked about 1%, reducing 1.5% withholding tax on small-scale miners. That is good. The point is whether or not the issue about galamsey, which is actually largely attributed by these small-scale miners, whether it is an incentive or a disincentive, it's for the government to determine, because economic policy is for government to determine. But I think that the downside of it is, why will you tax an economy that actually supported your growth? If you cripple it and there's no good production and there's nothing of support, that means your growth figures is going to come. The man you are already projecting that the rate of growth is going to be lower than you grew this year or last year. So that is the problem. But aside these beautiful promises, we can say effectively, the government gave us he tried to trivialize that. No, they are not trivial matters. All the taxes removed, they were all progressive taxes. All of them.
How so?
How so? Let's take e-levy. It's proportionate to your number of transactions. The more you do, the more you pay. The rich pay more on e-levy than the poor. It's
you don't agree with those who say e-levy was hurting the
poor
more than the rich?
I'm saying that every taxation measure would have to put some burden. And I know my mother in the village has never sent me money. I send him money. I send her money. Right? The poor people don't have the wherewithal to do financial transactions. It is the rich who are a little better or who send the money. Right? So that argument about the poor, it is the scope that people were afraid of. And the scope also affects that. Look, the Kaye lady taking her 500 Ghana cedi, having to send some to the mother in the village, will face it. That is the point people sometimes complain. But that taxation itself was progressive. But that said, you come back to a growth and sustainability levy. You know the companies it covers. The growth and sustainability levy covers telecom companies. One, it covers shipping lines. Two, it covers these are the companies it covers: banks, non-bank financial institutions, insurance companies, telecom companies. It covers breweries. It covers inspection and evaluation companies. It covers companies providing mining support services, bulk oil distributors, oil marketing companies, telecom tower operators, companies providing upstream petroleum services, companies and institutions registered by the Stock Security and Exchange Commission, special depositor taking institution, electronic money issuers, shipping lines, maritime and airport terminals. That is the category A. And you know what it means? The government is imposing 5% tax on these companies from 2025 all the way to 2028. That's the meaning of it. Because the government says that they are extending that tax, which was supposed to have elapsed this year. They are extending it to 2028. It means that all these companies, a 5% tax has been levied on them for the next 4 years. Aside that, the government is also putting an additional 200% increase, apart from extending it for category B, that is mining companies and upstream gas and oil companies. Apart from extending it for them for the next year, the government has increased their rate by about 200%, from 1% to 3%. That is another burden the government has put. Apart from this, category C, all other entities not falling within category A and B, there is a 2.5% charge on them. This is the effect of that particular policy the finance minister mentioned. The details of it hasn't come because they have deliberately put it under closet because they don't want the good people of Ghana to know. Aside this, the minister also mentioned about special import levy. The special import levy, I'm happy the AGI has come to speak on that matter. Okay, it is for them. It is an imposition of tax. You say you are going to reduce import duties, that the cost of bringing goods into the country were so high. Now you are actually imposing tax on them for the next 4 years. That's the meaning of that particular measure. The president also, through the finance minister, also imposed tax on non-life insurance policy, which was exempted. So it means that if I'm going to insure my property, my house, I'm going to pay insurance. If I'm going to insure my goods, freight, I'm going to pay insurance. If I'm going to put any non-life insurance, the only exclusion they're making here is that motor vehicles are exempted, which was even exempted in the first place. In fact, motor vehicles together with all non-life insurance were zero tax. Now there's now tax on them. Apart from that, there is also this particular we have talked about road tolls. Road tolls was there as a replacement for COVID-19, right? It was burden on the good people. Apart from the inconvenience, it was a tax on every user of the road. Now the government is now proposing a tax measure to tax them. That is another tax measure.
If you can do this quickly, because we're running out of time.
There's a lot to talk about. But finally, the finance minister has given an excuse to the fact that the shortfalls from the abolition of those particular taxes would be catered for from the what do you call our tax refund account. What is a tax refund account? It is revenue, 6% of revenues from non-oil taxes will be set aside in a sinking account, in a buffer. Said that if an individual has a tax refund, you pay through that particular person, through that particular account. He says that it has not been used over the years. What basically he's decided to do is that I will reduce the rate.
It's not being used properly.
What I'll do is that I'll reduce the rate from 6 to what? 4%, which essentially means that you are uncapping that particular fund. In fact, from 6, it goes to 4. It means that there's going to be freeze of revenue for you to use for other purposes. That's what it means. But in the first place, even the 6%, whenever they don't pay and the money is there, it goes back to the consolidated account. It supports government expenditure. So that is also a point that has well. And aside that, this government has given it a sense that they are going to reduce government expenditure. If you go to the Office of Government Machinery, they have increased, even they are claiming Nana Akufo-Addo had 300 appointees and they are reducing their budget this year. Far outweighs. Compensation alone is around 2.7 billion for this year. But Nana Akufo-Addo, even with the bloated government, did a compensation of around 300 million. So this is what we are talking about. That the Ghanaian people.
Our time is almost up.
Unfortunately,
how can the time be up?
So it's almost up.
You told me to keep quiet and allow
I wanted him to
talk.
land so he didn't come in here. Please come. Please go.
But I've not landed though. But
yes. He hasn't landed, but we don't have one day, so please go ahead.
You see, my brother, sometimes when you people talk, it's difficult for people like me to understand. You are running an economy in which you cannot generate resources to pay your debt. Your debt alone is consuming almost all of your revenue. There is no money for development, for building gutters and so on. And you said that you left a buoyant economy. What does buoyancy mean? I mean, incredible. You say that cocoa is the mainstay of the economy. You left power at a time when you could not even take loans to pay the cocoa farmer for the cocoa they supply to you. How is this a buoyant economy? You left power at a time when you couldn't feed secondary school students, even though free SHS was your flagship program and so on. Is this the buoyant economy? And then we are complaining that government has imposed taxes on some businesses, oil companies and mining companies and so on. Shouldn't government impose taxes on them? Shouldn't? So if government does not impose taxes on them, what should it do? You should not increase the taxes on them. You should cancel e-levy as you promised to do. Shift the burden. And then there's this thing about e-levy that the rich pay more and so on. Funny. My brother, when you collect your salary, before the salary comes into your hands, the salary is taxed. You pay income tax on your salary. When you decide to transfer part of that money to your mother in the village, the money which has already been taxed, to transfer part of it to your mother in the village, it is taxed again. When your mother in the village receives the money on her Momo, in her Momo account, and decides to go and do some other transaction, she's taxed again. Now, who says that only the rich were using Memo? The rich, they didn't use Momo. Go and check.
But no one said that. You were saying it's proportionate.
No. The rich, how many rich people were using Momo, their Momo account and so on? It is the poor Kayaye and so on who are using Momo. If I lie, tell me.
But it's not only Momo, electronic e-levy, so that's the problem. The understanding of e-levy is problematic. It's not only mobile money transactions.
I'm not saying that it is only
It's
mobile.
only using Momo as just for
it's not Momo taxes. I'm just giving it for clarity. That it go beyond Momo.
No, I'm just showing that poor, ordinary people, even unemployed people, were using electronic transactions. So this whole thing about is the rich and so on, it's not true. It's not true. In any case, in this election, all of you made the same promises. Didn't you also promise to come and...
We don't have issue with the removal. That's why we don't have issue. I've said that we don't have issue with the removal. I'm just saying that.
So if you don't have issue with it, why...
So this was the reason. It was not about progression. The issue we had, the issue with that with the e-levy was about mobile money penetration and electronic transaction penetration. And the vice president's position was that being the leader or promoter of digitalization, it was too early yet to impose tax on those transactions because you want to promote financial inclusion through Momo and other things. That was the position. It had nothing to do.
His government imposed the tax at the time when he was chairman of the Economic Management Committee.
I'm not debating that. I'm not debating that. I'm saying that this was
one person be against the imposition of the tax and one person be the same person who is imposing the tax. What is this?
Okay. All right. I guess that the conversation has just started, and I'm sure before the end of the week, we'll get some more clarity on some of the things that have contained in the budget. And so I want to thank my guests very much for joining us on Good Morning Ghana. Remember, the show was also live on 94.1 FM. Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. is the managing editor of the Insights newspaper, and also Dr. Kabiru, Dr. Tia Abdul Kabiru Mahama is also an MP for Wale Wale and a former technical advisor on economics and finance at the office of the former vice president. My name is Audumo. The show was produced by Annie, or the production team was led and headed by Annie Ifo Ampofo. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching Good Morning Ghana once again. Bye-bye.
How can you tax a sector which is giving you growth? The sector that is giving you growth is the sector you want to go and tax. This is not good for industry. This is not good for economic growth. And this is not good for the development of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, betting tax that they said they have abolished. We never collected betting tax. We never implemented the betting tax. So to come and tell Ghanaians that you have abolished something that was not implemented is to deceive the people of Ghana. My brothers and sisters, they are talking also about gold board. It's important I address this. The gold board, as you heard the minister talk about, is to be financed from the budget. The minister is allocating $279 million to the gold board.